Hey everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thanks for joining us on a Monday night. It's a pleasure to have this gentleman on the show tonight with me. He has played steel guitar for the likes of John Anderson and currently is working for the great Lyle Lovett. And he's got some music out on his own and just some fabulous music, and it's a pleasure to have him on the show tonight. This is Buck Reid. Buck, how are you tonight?
Hello, Scott. Fine, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. Pleasure to have you on the show tonight. I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, hey, back at you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And I want to thank our mutual friend, Bill Charbonneau. He is the one responsible for getting us in touch. And, of course, another great musician. I know you did some work on his steel guitar recently.
Yes, yeah. And I owe Bill a phone call, too. Yeah, I did some work for him, but he sends me a message, or I got a card in the mail from him a couple of days ago, and just really great guy, nice, super nice gentleman. Yeah,
he sure is. One of my dear friends for many years, that's for sure. You've got a lot of Michigan connections. I know we know a lot of the same people, Danny Houlihan and Marilyn Myers, and you've been up here to do the steel guitar show, too, I believe.
Yes, sir. Yeah. They've been kind enough to invite me 3 or 4 times now, I guess. And they were, let's see, in 2016. Yeah, I guess that's 5 years ago already. They were kind enough to induct me into their Steel Guitar Hall of Fame. They have a steel guitar group and various players from around the country and the world, and so, you know, a nice little tribute or honor, and it was really, really nice. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, Danny's good people. Yeah.
He sure is. He's another monster player. I know he used to play with Dottie West, and he's just a fabulous player, no doubt about it. I've been honored to be able to work with him several times.
Yeah. He and his wife, they've been friends. I met them in St. Louis, actually, at a steel guitar convention.
Oh yeah.
20 plus years ago now. We've known each other, and he also has a string company, for pedal steel guitar players, and so we stay in touch frequently because I need strings all the time, and
yeah,
and so he's got a little business going there too, and he's been really good to me.
Absolutely, that's Jaguar Strings. They are the best. There's no doubt about that. That's the name of their band too.
Jaguar Strings, yes sir. They, in the 20 years that I've had them, I've never opened one and found any rust or corrosion or anything strange or weird. I mean, they're so consistent.
Well, that's good to know.
It's really important.
Yeah.
It's really important, especially on an instrument where you're constantly stretching the strings, and you need something you can depend on.
That's for sure. I have always been in awe of steel guitar players. It's basically like operating a machine. Just even watching them being put together. It's an amazing thing. I'm a huge steel guitar fan. Always have been.
Yeah, well, me too, and all aspects of it. My dad was a player, which is how I got started. We grew up in a small town in upstate New York. And he was a part-time musician, but he got me started, and I soon realized that there wasn't a steel guitar repair shop anywhere close. If I needed a repair or if I needed a part for something or something like that. So one thing led to another, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to learn how this thing works, so I can fix it if I need to, because I can't call someone.
Yeah.
And so along with the playing, I really developed a great appreciation for how the instrument works. And on top of growing up on a farm, which we had 100 acre farm where we grew up. on top of all the farm work and all the the other stuff, my father was also a gunsmith. He had a gunsmithing business.
Oh wow.
So we grew up learning how to tear things apart, and basically is all I'm trying.
But you learned
the mechanical side of it really intrigued me as much as playing, and in the long run, it's really paid off for me because I've had some pretty amazing opportunities and moments with some of my heroes. After I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it makes me feel more like a well-rounded professional, just being prepared on all fronts.
Absolutely. And you do repairs and things like that for people, and people can go to buckreid.com, which is your website, and they can get in touch with you there. And you also have a fabulous CD that we're going to talk about today, and you've got some great music we're going to play, and that's available. It's called A Work in Progress, and I love that title. I guess we're all a work in progress, aren't we?
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's so much to learn, and we can never learn it all. There's too much.
That's for sure. So what is your steel guitar of choice, and what is your setup?
Well, my steel guitar of choice was made by a guy named Jimmy Crawford, and the name of the company is just simply JCH, the initials JCH. And the company was started with Jimmy and another friend of mine and an incredible musician named John Huey.
Oh, yeah.
They started this company together in 1981, and then John got busy. He started working with Vince Gill, and he got busy traveling. So it left Jimmy really to just do all the building by himself, which is too much for one man. It's a lot of work. And so I met him. I met Jimmy, and he was having some health issues at the time, and I was really impressed and intrigued with his design and the way he built things, his attention to detail, everything. I just loved it. So I just approached him and asked him if I could come to work with him, really just basically as an apprentice, and to help him get he had a backlog of 12 or 15 guitars or something like that, and he just couldn't do it by himself. And so I said, let me come and help you get caught up with your backlog, and in lieu of pay, let me build a guitar for myself when we have time to work on it.
Uh-huh.
So that was our arrangement, and that's what I did. So I built a guitar for myself, which that's been 20 years ago now. Before that, though, I worked in shops and repair shops and things all over town, just doing setups and basic general maintenance things for people. So I got a lot of hands-on experience, with all different brand names, but to really focus on one particular design was a treat for me because you could really you could really stay consistent and have continuity in your work.
Sure. And what?
So the whole thing intrigued me. The playing, how it worked, and then it's like, as I say, it's led me to some pretty amazing people.
Absolutely. What kind of tuning do you do?
Well, I have two. Excuse me. I have a double neck guitar with 10 strings on each neck, and on the outside neck, I have just your standard E9 Nashville tuning, which is pretty standard. I have a couple of changes, knee lever changes that I really that I get a lot of use out of, but it's pretty standard. And then the other tuning is a C6, just a standard C6 tuning, also with some some embellishments on my part with a couple of pedals and a couple of levers.
Mm-hmm.
So the tunings themselves have been around for quite a while.
Yeah, the C6, I think they used to call that the Bakersfield tuning. I know that was a popular one out there in Bakersfield.
Right. Well, yeah, they did a lot of E9 stuff too. The guys like Red Rhodes and J.D. Maynez and oh gosh, there's a lot of them. There's several.
Yeah.
Ralph Mooney. Ralph Mooney was a pioneer.
Oh, absolutely.
Way back with the early Win Stewart records, the country artist Win Stewart, and then early on with Buck Owens, and then later on with Waylon, of course. But,
yeah, he played on all those. He played on all those Merle Haggard, early Merle Haggard records too, before Norm Hamlet started playing with him.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Win Stewart and Merle Haggard and all those guys, they were buddies. They hung out together.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I
know that you. I know you mentioned. We were talking about your dad, and your dad was an Ernest Tubb fan, so I'm sure that Buddy Emmons and Buddy Charlton were a big influence on you as well.
Oh, yeah, probably, Buddy Emmons for sure was probably, for sure at the time, was the biggest influence on me. I'm a big fan of Buddy Charlton, too, and I eventually got to meet, Buddy Charlton. And it's hard to really put into words when it comes to Buddy Emmons. The breadth of his contribution, not only in the way he played, but in his design ideas and tuning ideas, and things early on when the instrument was still brand new. And so that's the amazing part to me, is they kind of defined the instrument, they kind of defined how to play it, and over the years the mechanical side of it has improved dramatically, where the intonation is really stable now, and so a lot of improvements, those kind of improvements that just take time, and when you consider that pedals really didn't come along until the mid-'50s. And then you consider that pedal steel is not even 100 years old yet. It's still going through, some growing pains.
Yeah.
But it sure has come a long way.
Well, that's an integral part of country music, and there are so many signature licks that have been created from the steel guitar. I know Lloyd Green comes to mind. He had so many great signatures. He had that dit thing in Easy Lovin' for Freddie Hart, and just so many different things, and you just hear that, and it's just such an identifying part of the song as much as the singer, really.
Yes. So, yeah, those guys were special. Those guys, they have a gift for that, and it's so obvious, just in the way that they excelled doing that, and it's really inspirational, and it's, as you say, each one had his own approach, his own sound, and that's what we strive for. We strive to play long enough and do it long enough where we can mature enough to be comfortable with our knowledge and just play, and what will come out will be you. It'll be unique to you, rather than growing up to imitate one of your heroes or to try to sound like someone else. I really think we all would like to have our own identifiable sound.
Sure, absolutely.
And it's just, it's a maturation process like everything else, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about when you first got into playing professionally.
Yeah, well, that's, talk about being lucky. I was working with I was still in upstate New York, and we signed a contract with a booking agent, which allowed us to travel around the country a little bit. And I met some people in Detroit on one of our stops, that were working 6 nights a week, and the money was really good, and I thought, well, this might be a stepping stone to get to Nashville, because ultimately I wanted to be in Nashville. So I met some people. Anyway, I ended up going to work with a band in Detroit, and lo and behold, I met a couple of guys that were musicians that worked with artists in Nashville. And one of them told me about a job opening with John Anderson, and so I made the phone call, and I connected with John, and he gave me an audition, and I passed, and I stayed there for 10 years. And so it's kind of a roundabout way, but it's kind of a common story too. I went to Detroit first, which was great for me because I was there for 2 years, and we were playing 6 nights a week, and most times on the 7th night there'd be a jam session somewhere. So we'd all the different bands would get together on jam night. And so just 2 years of playing that much, really, I felt like it really helped me to hone my chops and my skills to even try to make an attempt to come here, to come where some of the greatest musicians in the world are. And so it was really great. It just worked out really great. I mean, yes, I worked hard at it, and I still am that dedicated, but there's a good bit of good fortune there too. And so I'm just grateful for all of it. Everybody has a story, so that's kind of what brought me to Nashville.
So you were working with John Anderson. This is back in the 80s when he was having all the big hits like Swingin' and all those great songs.
Yes, sir. I went to work with John in the summer of 1982. And at that time, Swingin' had just come out. But I was really loving all the early stuff, the really hardcore country stuff. And we played, that's what we were playing on the shows back then. But when Swingin' came out, it took on a life of its own. And it was amazing how a silly, simple little song like that really, made so much noise.
Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, and working with John was like we were brothers. When we weren't out playing music somewhere, we were on the lake fishing, or we were, hunting or doing something. We we spent a lot of time together, when we weren't working, and it just made it feel really, really comfortable, and I'm very grateful for those years too.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I know that you are still working with Lyle Lovett. Tell me a little bit about how that all came about for you.
Okay, yeah, this summer marks this will be 28 years this summer that I've been working with Lyle, and after I left John in 1990, I really just kind of tried to get into a little bit of demo work and recording work around Nashville, and I worked with a couple of other new artists for a couple of years, and then in 1993, I got a call from Lyle's management asking me if I'd be interested in auditioning, and being a real, not only just a hardcore country fan, I'm a really huge big band and swing and jazz fan also. And I thought, wow, having an opportunity to work with a horn section and really top-notch musicians, I had to go and give it a shot and give it a try, and anyway, that's that's the story. It's 28 years later, and it's been a great, one of my greatest experiences, because the level of musicianship is better than anything that I've ever been associated with. And so it's great. It's fresh every night. It's great, and after that much time, you kind of become a family too.
Sure. Well, obviously, Lyle is a great person to work for. If he's got musicians like you that have that kind of tenure with his band, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he is. He's a very loyal guy. He's extremely intelligent, and but he is very loyal. And I think people sometimes don't realize the amount of pressure that some of these artists have on them. And so, there are going to be those moments, tense moments here and there, but it's all like family. It's like family stuff,
Yeah.
You have a little squabble over something and you get over it and you move on,
Yep.
So, but yeah, Lyle has been incredibly good to me. He's invited me to play on a few of his records as well, in my time here. And, the education that I've gained really just by hanging around such talented players is invaluable. Demeanor, everything, your attitude, demeanor, things besides just the music. That a true professional you really can learn from, and so that's what I've done. I'm just a lifetime student. I just try to stay in that learning mode all the time.
Well, that's great. Well, it keeps it fresh, that's for sure. Well, tell me some about your album. It's called A Work in Progress, folks. You can go to buckreid.com, and we're going to play some of the cuts off of this tonight. But tell me about some of the songs on here, Buck.
Oh, thanks, Scott. Yeah, that's a labor of love, and it's kind of a mixed bag. As I mentioned, I'm a huge jazz lover and big band, and so I wrote a few things. There are 4 original tunes on the record, and then I recorded a couple of Charlie Parker tunes. A couple of, there's a ballad I wrote for my oldest daughter, so there's some really, almost orchestra-like E9 stuff on there, for the steel guitar fans. So yeah, it's just a way really for me to document my, my progress and also my original works along the way, So I'm not the kind of person that feels like I have to put out a record every year. I'd rather take a little more time with it and try to be more thorough and really mean it when it does come time to do it. I think that really comes across in the music.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way to be. No doubt about it. Well, I know we've just came off of a really crazy year and a half of the whole pandemic thing, and everybody was off the road. So, are things starting to kind of open back up again for you?
Not yes, but not touring wise. This year, Lyle's just decided to kind of sit it out and see what's going to happen. But we've already, he's already started booking shows for next summer. So in the meantime, for me, I'm working from home. I'm working on a new instrumental record. I also record pedal steel tracks for singer-songwriters or recording artists here that I know, in town. And then, one of my other jobs is to, do setups and repairs and basic maintenance for other players. And teaching also. I should mention that I do a fair amount of teaching, both private lessons and via Skype. So it's all things steel guitar, and it's it's a few irons in the fire, but it's all things steel guitar. So it's a pretty good life for me anyway.
Well, hey, you're doing what you love, and that's, work is such a big part of our lives, and we have a chance to do something that you love and you're passionate about. It makes it all the better. I think that's wonderful.
Yes, and I never take that for granted. You're absolutely right. it's an honor and a privilege to do something that you enjoy.
You bet.
So I'm extremely lucky, my friend.
Well, I'm extremely lucky to have you on the show tonight, and I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us. And again, folks, please go to buckreid.com. We will put that information on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country. And make sure you pick up a copy of his CD. It's called A Work in Progress. And get in touch with him. He'll be happy to help you with anything.
And stay tuned for news on the new release.
Yeah, please keep me posted on that, and maybe we can have you back on the show, and we'll play some of that too. That would be fantastic.
Awesome, I will. Thank you. I will do that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show. We're going to play some of your great songs right now. We're going to play some Lyle Lovett and some John Anderson as well for you. So, Buck Reid, thank you so much for being on My Kind of Country.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me.